The sky was dark with smoke. The wind carried the smell of metal and ash. The ground was covered with broken machines and the bones of old wars. This place was called the Junkyard, a graveyard of ships and dreams. A man walked slowly through the wreckage. He was tall, with long hair falling on his shoulders. His beard was rough, and his eyes were tired but sharp. His clothes were torn. His boots were heavy with dirt. He was human, a wanderer, a survivor. No one knew his name here. He searched the ruins for scraps. Scraps meant food. Scraps meant life. He kicked aside a bent metal plate. He pushed a burned helmet with his boot. Every sound echoed in the empty field of wreckage. He bent down and picked up a broken cable. Nothing useful, nothing worth carrying. He sighed and looked at the horizon. Storm clouds were moving in. He needed to find shelter before night. This world did not forgive the weak. Creatures came out after dark. Hunters walked these grounds. He had seen men disappear in the junkyard before. Then, something stopped him. A sound, small and fragile, not the wind, not the metal creak. It was a voice, a cry. The man froze. He held his breath. The voice came again, soft and broken. Please, please take me. Human. His heart jumped. He turned his head, scanning the piles of junk. His hand went to the knife on his belt. He did not trust voices in the junkyard. Sometimes hunters used children's cries as traps, but this cry was different. It was weak, full of pain, full of fear. The man moved slowly, step by step. The cry grew clearer. It came from a half-buried container. The container glowed faintly with red light inside. Its door was half open. Shadows moved within. He approached carefully, his knife ready. The air was hot around the container. The red glow painted the ground like fire. He looked inside, and his heart stopped. A small figure stood there. A little girl, thin and dirty. Her hair was tangled, her skin pale, but her eyes were strange, large, glowing faintly in the dark. Not human, not of Earth. She looked at him with trembling lips. Tears ran down her dusty face. Please take me, she whispered again. Please take me and Mama. The man stared. His mind raced. An alien child here, alone. How long had she been trapped? Why was she calling for a human? He opened his mouth to speak, but the girl pointed deeper into the container. Her voice cracked. Mama is inside. Please save her. The man narrowed his eyes. He stepped closer. The heat inside the container grew stronger. The red glow burned against his skin. He saw another shadow in the back, a figure sitting against the wall, tall, slender, unmoving. He squinted. It was a woman, her body weak, her arms chained, her face hidden in shadow. But he felt something heavy, something strange. The child tugged his sleeve. Don't leave us, human, please. The man clenched his jaw. He should walk away. This was not his fight. He was only one man. If hunters came, he would die. But he could not ignore the child's eyes that begged for life, eyes that carried pain no child should know. Suddenly the ground shook. Far away, engines roared. The man turned. Smoke rose in the distance. Voices echoed, harsh and cruel. Hunters, scavengers, they were coming. The girl gasped, clutching his arm. They will take us back. They will kill Mama. Please, hurry. The man's chest tightened. His choices burned in his mind. Leave them and survive, or stay and fight. He looked at the girl, her glowing eyes wide with fear. He looked at the chained woman in the shadows. Her head lifted slowly, her voice soft, weak, but filled with dignity. Human, if you save us, we will give you something the stars themselves fear. The man's breath caught. His grip tightened on his knife. The sound of engines grew louder. The hunters were near. He had no more time. He must choose. Take them or leave them. And in that moment, he knew his life was about to change forever. The engines roared closer. The air trembled with the sound of metal beasts rolling across the junkyard. The human clenched his jaw, his hand still tight on the knife. The girl's small fingers clung to him like she would never let go. Her glowing eyes begged him not to leave. And from the shadows inside the container, the chained figure stirred. She was tall, fragile, and yet there was grace in her movements. Her skin shimmered faintly in the red light, smooth but marked with bruises. Her hair, long and dark, fell like broken silk around her shoulders, chains wrapped around her wrists and ankles, cutting into her skin. She raised her head slowly, revealing her face, and in that moment, the human froze. She was not just beautiful, she was otherworldly. Her eyes glowed like deep oceans under a foreign sun, her cheekbones high, her lips soft but pale with suffering. There was sorrow in her face, but also strength. Even in chains, she carried dignity. She looked at the human as if she already knew him. The girl whispered, "She is my mama." The human swallowed hard, his chest heavy. The woman's voice came, soft but clear. "Human, please, do not let them take us." Her words were heavy with pain, but also with something more, something that felt like trust. The engines roared again, closer now. The human glanced outside. Shadows moved in the distance. Tall scavenger hunters, armored, armed. Their voices shouted orders, cruel and sharp. They would be here in minutes. He turned back to the mother. "Why are you here? Why chained like this?" he demanded. The woman lowered her gaze. "Our people were betrayed," she whispered. "We were promised safety, but instead we were hunted." Her voice cracked, her chains rattled softly. "They wanted my daughter, her gift, her power. But I refused, so they bound me, left me here to die. My child hid, crying for anyone to hear, and she called for you." The man felt his throat tighten. He had seen betrayal before. He had fought in wars where humans turned on humans. But this was different. An alien mother, chained, left to rot in fire and rust. Her only hope, her only shield, her human stranger. The girl tugged his arm again. "Please, human, please break her chains." Her eyes glowed brighter, shimmering like tears of light. The man hesitated, his knife trembling in his hand. If he freed them, the hunters would chase him forever. If he left, he could vanish into the wreckage and live. But his heart refused to walk away. He knelt, studied the chains, thick, old, corroded by time. He raised his knife and struck. The metal sparked but did not break. The mother winced but did not cry out. She only whispered, "Hurry, they are coming." The man struck again and again. The chain cracked, a piece fell loose, one wrist free. The girl gasped with joy, clutching her mother's arm. The woman smiled faintly, but her eyes stayed on the human. "You risk much for strangers," she said softly. "Why?" The man did not answer. Perhaps he did not know. But deep inside, something stirred. A fire, he thought long dead. A fire that once made him fight for more than himself. The ground shook. The hunters were near. The human's sweat dripped, his arms aching. He struck the chains again, sparks flying. Another lock broke, another chain fell. The mother groaned in relief, her body weak but her spirit unbroken. Then a voice thundered outside. "Find them! Bring the woman alive! Kill the human!" The girl whimpered, pressing close to her mother. The man turned, eyes sharp. He pulled the last chain free. The mother staggered forward, her legs trembling, but she held her daughter tight. And for the first time, hope lit her face. The man's mind raced. He could not fight an army here. He needed a plan. He looked at the mother. "Can you walk?" he asked. She nodded weakly, her chains dragging. The girl clutched both their hands, her small voice trembling. "They will not stop until they have us." The woman touched the human's arm, her hand light, her eyes burning with secret fire. "If you save us tonight, human," she whispered, "we will give you something greater than treasure, something the stars themselves fear." Her words echoed like a promise and a warning. The hunter's footsteps thundered closer. The man gritted his teeth. He pulled the mother and child toward the back of the container. "There must be another way out," he muttered. The woman pointed to a crack in the wall, a narrow path hidden behind twisted steel. The man shoved it open, light spilling through. He glanced back, the red glow still burning inside, shadows of hunters stretching across the wreckage. He led them into the narrow passage, the mother limping, the child silent with fear. And for the first time, the human knew this was no simple rescue. This was the beginning of something far greater. The night sky cracked with thunder. Lightning flashed above the junkyard, lighting the mountains of broken ships and twisted machines. The human pushed forward, guiding the alien woman and her child through the narrow path. The girl clung to her mother's hand, her glowing eyes watching every shadow. The mother limped but forced herself to keep moving, her broken chains dragging against the ground. Behind them, the hunt. Ur's voices grew louder, cruel and eager. The human's steps were silent, careful. He knew how to move like a ghost. A soldier's memory never left him. But the hunters were many, and their eyes glowed red through the storm. They carried shock spears and blasters, their armor black and heavy. Every sound in the junkyard betrayed them, the clang of chains, the crunch of boots, even the girl's trembling breath. The man stopped, raised a hand. He listened. Through the roar of thunder, he heard the hunters spreading out. One to the left, two to the right, another behind. They were surrounding them like wolves. The mother's lips parted in fear, but she did not speak. She only pulled her daughter closer. "Quiet," the human whispered. The girl's glowing eyes met his, and then suddenly her pupils widened. She gasped, clutching her head. "Danger! They are near," she whispered. The human frowned. "How do you know?" The child shook her head, her voice trembling. "I just feel it before it happens." The human's heart raced. He had no time to question her gift. He grabbed a broken panel from the ground and covered their tracks. Then he pushed them into the shadow of a burned engine. The hunter's footsteps clanged closer. One voice growled, "They cannot hide from us. The widow and her spawn belong to the Empire." The woman flinched at the word widow, but she held her chin high. Her eyes glowed faintly, not with fear but with defiance. The human saw it, and for a moment, respect stirred inside him. Even in chains, she carried herself like a queen. A red light swept across the wreckage, a hunter's scanner beam, searching, cutting through the dark. The human pressed the woman and child down behind a broken wing. The beam passed over them, missing by inches. The girl held her breath so long her face turned pale. Only when the light moved away did she exhale, shivering. The human's mind raced. They could not keep running in circles. They needed escape, a real way out. He looked at the mother. "Do you know a path through this place?" he asked. The woman nodded weakly. "There is an old tunnel. From before the war, it leads outside the junkyard." Her voice cracked. "But it is far and guarded." The human gritted his teeth. "Then we fight through if we must," he said. The girl's small voice broke the silence. "They will never stop. Not until they have us." Her words carried a weight too heavy for a child. The mother stroked her hair gently. "They will not take you, little one, not while I still breathe." The storm above cracked again. Rain began to fall, hissing on hot metal. The hunters shouted, their voices rising. "They are close. I smell the human." The man's heart pounded. He grabbed a long metal rod from the ground. It was no sword, but it would do. The first hunter appeared, his armor shining red in the lightning. His spear crackled with energy. The human stepped out from the shadows. His rod swung with brutal force. It smashed against the hunter's helmet, sparks flying. The hunter stumbled but did not fall. The man struck again, faster, harder. This time the helmet cracked. The red glow in the hunter's eyes flickered. The creature fell with a heavy thud. The girl gasped. The mother pulled her back, whispering, "Stay behind me, do not move." More hunters shouted, rushing toward the sound. The human lifted the rod again, his breath sharp. But before they reached him, the girl suddenly cried out, "Left! They are coming from the left!" The human turned instantly. Two hunters leaped from the wreckage, spears raised. He swung wide, catching one across the chest. The other lunged, but he ducked low, stabbing with the broken rod. The spear clattered to the ground. The mother's eyes widened at the child. Her daughter was not only seeing danger, she was guiding the human's fight. Every warning saved his life. Every cry gave him time to strike. But the hunters kept coming. Dozens now, their armor glowing in the storm. The human's arms ached, his breath heavy. He could not hold forever. The woman saw his struggle. She raised her chained hands, whispering strange words. Her eyes glowed brighter. The broken metal around them shivered. Sparks danced in the air. The hunters froze for a moment, startled. The human grabbed the chance. "Go, now," he shouted. He pushed the mother and child toward the tunnel path. The woman limped but forced her legs to move. The girl ran beside her, looking back again and again. Hunters roared, chasing. The storm raged above. The ground shook with thunder and footsteps. They reached the tunnel entrance, a cracked wall of stone and steel, half buried in wreckage. The human shoved a broken plate aside. A dark passage yawned before them. The girl's glowing eyes lit the way. "Inside quickly," the man urged. The mother stumbled in, pulling her child close. The human followed, gripping his rod tight. Behind them, the hunters howled, their voices echoing through the junkyard. But the trio vanished into the darkness of the tunnel, and the chase had only just begun. The tunnel was dark and wet. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing like whispers. The human walked in front, his metal rod in hand. Behind him, the alien woman leaned against the wall, limping. The child walked between them, her glowing eyes lighting the path. Her small hand never let go of her mother's. The hunters' voices faded behind them, but the echoes still haunted the walls. The human knew they would not give up so easily. Hunters never rested until the prey was caught. He had seen it in war, and now he saw it here. This was not just a chase, it was a hunt. The tunnel stretched for miles. The air grew colder. The stones cracked with age. Strange markings covered the walls, symbols of a forgotten race. The woman touched them as they walked. Her fingers trembled, her lips whispering words the human could not understand. "These walls remember," she said softly. "They were built before your kind walked the stars." The human frowned but said nothing. He only listened to the echo of his boots. Every sound could give them away. And still the child spoke, her voice a trembling whisper. "They are waiting ahead." The man stopped, his eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" he asked. The girl pointed forward, her eyes glowing brighter. "They know about this tunnel. They guard the end." The woman's face turned pale. Her chains rattled softly as she leaned against the wall. "They're clever. They know we would run here," she said, her voice filled with despair. "Then the tunnel is a trap," the human muttered. For a moment silence fell. The only sound was water dripping. The human's jaw tightened. He had been in traps before. He had seen men die in them, but he also knew something else. Sometimes the only way out was straight through. They kept walking. The tunnel grew wider. The air was heavy with smoke and the faint smell of burning oil. The child pressed close to her mother, her voice breaking. "They are waiting. So many of them." The human adjusted his grip on the rod, his eyes sharp. He was ready to fight. But as they reached the end of the tunnel, the truth revealed itself. A massive ship blocked the exit. Its black hull covered in glowing red symbols. Engines hummed like a heartbeat. Guards stood in front, armored and armed, dozens of them. And at their center, a tall figure stepped forward. He wore heavy armor of silver and red, his helmet shaped like a beast. His voice echoed through the tunnel. "Human, you cannot run for Revere." The guards raised their weapons, sparks of energy glowing in their hands. The child gasped, clinging tighter to her mother. The woman's face hardened, sorrow mixing with fury. The human stepped forward, his rod low, his eyes burning. "What do you want?" he shouted. The armored figure's voice was cold. "We want the widow and her spawn." He pointed at the woman and child. "Give them to us, and you may live." The mother shook her head, her voice trembling but strong. "You will never have her," she said. "You will never take my child." The armored figure laughed, a sound like iron scraping. "You think this human can save you, widow? He will be crushed, like all the others." The girl hid her face against her mother's torn gown, her small body shaking. But the human's voice cut through the storm. "You want them, you'll have to go through me." The guards hissed, raising their spears, but the armored leader raised a hand, stopping them. His voice carried amusement. "Brave words, human, but foolish." The human's grip on the rod tightened. His mind raced. He could not win against so many. Not in the open, not here. He needed time. He needed a spark. And then the girl gasped again, her eyes glowing brighter. "Now, move now," she cried. The human trusted her without thought. He dove to the side. Blaster fire tore through the tunnel, scorching the walls where he had stood. The girl's warning had saved him again. The mother raised her chained arms, chanting softly. Metal debris shivered, rising from the ground. It flew like arrows toward the guards. Two fell. Their armor cracked open. The human leapt forward, swinging the rod. It cracked against a guard's head. The soldier dropped with a heavy thud. Another lunged, but the human moved like a storm. Every strike fierce, every move sharp. The girl's cries guided him, left, right, behind, and he fought as if death had seen. Elf chased him. The armored leader watched, silent, not moving, not yet. His eyes burned behind the beast-shaped mask. The mother's power flickered, her body weak. She gasped, falling to her knees. The girl screamed, rushing to her side. "Please, Mama, don't stop." The human stood in front of them, his chest heaving, the tunnel floor littered with broken armor and sparks. The leader finally stepped forward, his voice deep, filled with cruel promise. "Enough games," he growled. "You will not leave this place alive." The human raised the rod again. The mother clutched her daughter tight. The girl's glowing eyes widened, seeing something no one else could. Her small voice shook. "He is stronger than the others, stronger than all of them." The human's breath caught. His eyes locked on the armored beast before him, and in that moment he knew this fight was not just survival. It was a test, a bargain between life and death, and the price would be written in blood. The tunnel was silent after the battle. The broken bodies of hunters lay scattered across the ground. Their armor sparked, their weapons burned out. The human stood tall, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His rod was bent and blood-stained, but his eyes still burned with fire. Behind him, the woman clutched her child, both trembling but alive. The armored leader had withdrawn. He had not been defeated, only delayed. His promise still echoed in the human's ears. "You will not leave this place alive." The human knew it was not over. The real storm was still ahead. They escaped deeper into the ruins. The tunnel led them to an old outpost. Its walls cracked, its machines long dead. But it was shelter, and for now, shelter was enough. The mother leaned against the wall, her body weak. The girl sat beside her, her glowing eyes filled with worry. The human kept watch at the broken doorway, his hand gripping the bent rod like it was his only lifeline. At last, the silence broke. The human turned to the woman. "Tell me the truth," he said, his voice low but firm. "Why do they want you? Why do they hunt the child?" The woman raised her head slowly. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and sorrow filled her face. "My people were once great," she whispered. "We ruled star systems. Our ships crossed the galaxies. We were wise. We were strong. But pride made us blind." Her fingers traced the scars on her chains. "They betrayed us, our allies, our own blood. It does not matter now." Her voice shook with pain, but also with anger. The human frowned. "And the child?" he asked, his gaze moving to the girl. The mother's arms tightened around her daughter. "She is different," she whispered. "She carries a gift, a curse, call it what you will. She can see what others cannot. She can sense danger before it comes. And when she is grown, her power will be greater than any weapon." The girl lowered her head, ashamed. "I didn't ask for it," she whispered softly. Tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. The human's chest tightened. She was only a child, yet burdened with the weight of an empire. He stepped closer, his voice rough but steady. "It is not your fault," he said. "No one chooses the blood they are born with." The girl looked up at him, hope flickering in her eyes. The mother studied him, her gaze sharp. "You are different too, human," she said. "You fight as if the stars themselves burn in your chest." Her words made him pause. He looked away, memories stabbing through his mind. The war, the comrades he had lost, the betrayals, the blood, the endless silence. "I was a soldier," he muttered. "I fought for a cause that died long before I did." The mother's eyes softened. "Then you understand us," she whispered. "You understand what it means to lose everything." The outpost shook suddenly. Dust rained from the ceiling. The girl gasped, her eyes glowing bright. "They are coming again," she cried. The human rushed to the doorway. Far away, red lights pierced the darkness. The hunters were spreading, searching. They would be here soon. The mother forced herself to stand. Her chains rattled, her legs weak, but her voice was strong. "You cannot fight them all," she said. "They will not stop. They will never stop." The human turned, his jaw hard. "Then we make them regret chasing us," he growled. The girl shook her head. "They won't stop until Mama and I are dead or taken." Her small voice trembled, but her eyes shone like fire. "They said I must not live, that I am dangerous." The mother knelt, holding her face gently. "You are not dangerous, little one. You are hope." Tears fell down the girl's cheeks. The human felt a knife twist in his chest. He had seen many children cry, but never with such fear, never with such weight. The storm outside grew louder. The hunters were closer now. The human stepped back inside. He knelt before the mother and child. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I don't care what empire wants you. I don't care what power they fear. As long as I breathe, they will not take you." His words rang like iron. The girl stared at him in silence. Then, slowly, she smiled through her tears. The mother's eyes filled with light. For the first time, she bowed her head, not as a prisoner, not as a slave, but as one who accepted his strength. "You are not bound to us, human," she whispered. "You do not have to carry our fate." The human stood, his grip on the rod unshaken. "I already chose," he said. His voice was rough but steady. "They are mine to protect now." The silence that followed was heavy. The mother looked at her daughter, then back at him, and for the first time, hope flickered in her heart. But outside, the shadows grew larger. The hunters were closing in, and soon, the final storm would break upon them. The ruined outpost groaned under the weight of the storm. Winds howled through the broken walls, carrying the scent of rust and fire. The human stood at the doorway, his eyes fixed on the shadows moving outside. The mother sat near the cracked wall, her daughter in her arms. The girl's glowing eyes reflected the flicker of lightning. Fear and fire burned inside her small heart. The human knew they had little time. The hunters were regrouping, their voices carried on the wind. He turned back to the woman and child, his voice steady. "If we run again, they will find us. If we hide, they will smoke us out." His grip tightened on the bent metal rod. "This time, we fight on our ground, not theirs." The mother shook her head weakly. "They are too many. You cannot face them alone." The human's gaze hardened. "Then I will teach you how to fight," he said. "Not just with weapons, but with fire in your heart." The girl blinked, her small hands clutching her mother's gown. "Me too," she whispered, her voice trembling but determined. The human knelt before her, his rough hand resting on her shoulder. "You are stronger than you know," he said softly. "But strength must be guided, or it will burn you from inside." The girl nodded, her glowing eyes brightening. Her mother touched her cheek, her voice full of warning. Promise me you will not lose yourself, my child. Promise me you will stay who you are. The girl pressed her forehead to her mother's hand. I promise, Mama. The human rose and began preparing. He moved through the outpost, collecting broken weapons and scraps. Every piece of metal, every shattered tool became a weapon in his hands. He sharpened rods into spears, tied wires into traps. The girl watched, learning, her small hands helping when she could. She carried. Ed Stones held wires and listened to every word he spoke. Place this here, he said, showing her a tripline. If they rush us, they fall before they even reach us. He showed her how to listen for footsteps, how to breathe quietly in the dark. Her eyes followed every movement, her ears caught every whisper. The mother, though weak, guided her too. She taught her words of their people, chants that steadied the heart and sharpened the mind. Together, human and alien built more than traps. They built trust. The night deepened. The hunters drew closer, their torches glowing red. Their voices rose in cruel laughter. Bring me the widow and her cursed child, their commander roared. The human felt the ground tremble, but he did not tremble himself. He had been a soldier once, and tonight he was a protector. The first wave came with a roar, dark figures storming through the wreckage, spears and blasters raised. They struck the wires, the traps, the spears. Screams filled the night as metal tore armor. The human leapt from the shadows, swinging his rod with fury. Every strike was sharp, every movement fast. The girl's voice rang out like a guiding star. Behind you, left side, above. And each warning saved his life. The mother raised her chained hands, whispering chants of power. The broken metal around the outpost trembled. It rose like spears of fire and shot into the hunters. They cried out, their armor cracking. Her body weakened with every effort, but her spirit blazed brighter than the storm outside. The girl's powers grew in the chaos. Her eyes glowed like twin suns. She saw every move before it came. She shouted warnings not only to the human, but to her mother too. And together, they struck as one. Human strength, alien knowledge, and child's gift. The hunters fell one by one, their cries swallowed by the storm. But the battle was not over. Through the smoke and fire, the armored commander appeared. His silver and red armor shone like a demon in the dark. His voice thundered. You think you can defy the Empire with tricks and scraps, human? His steps shook the ground as he advanced. You think a child's curse can save you? The girl clutched her mother, whispering, Mama, he is stronger than the rest, stronger than all of them. The human stepped forward, his rod raised. Then I will break him too, he growled. The commander laughed, drawing a massive blade of light. Its edge burned, cutting the air itself. Come then, human, let us see what you are made of. The two clashed in the ruined outpost, rod against burning blade, sparks flying with every strike. The commander's strength was monstrous. Every swing shook the walls, every strike split the ground. But the human fought with fire in his chest. He had no armor, no blade, only will, and will was stronger than any weapon. The girl shouted, guiding him through the storm of strikes. Duck, now strike, step back. The mother's chants filled the air, giving him strength. Together they turned the hopeless fight into survival, but the commander was not done. His voice roared, echoing through the ruins. You cannot protect them forever, human. The Empire will send more, always more. The human's arms ached, his body burned with pain, but his voice was unbroken. Then let them come, he snarled. As long as I breathe, they will not take them. The commander's blade clashed again, sparks lighting the storm, and the fate of all three hung in the balance. The outpost burned with fire and storm. Sparks rained from shattered walls. Smoke rose into the night sky. The humans stood face to face with the armored commander. The child and her mother hid behind the broken wall, their eyes locked on the fight. The commander's burning blade hummed with deadly light. The human's bent rod glowed with sparks from every clash. The storm outside roared. Lightning split the sky. Every strike echoed like thunder. The commander's voice boomed through the ruins. You are nothing but flesh, human, yet you dare to stand in the path of the Empire. The human's jaw tightened, sweat dripping down his face. I am enough, he growled. Their weapons clashed again, sparks flying into the storm. The girl's voice rang out, guiding him. Left side. He swings high. Step back now. The human moved exactly as she said. The commander's blade missed, slicing through stone. The human struck back, his rod slamming into the armored chest. The commander staggered but did not fall. He laughed, his voice cruel and sharp. Your strength is nothing, human. I will tear you apart. The mother stood, her chains rattling, her eyes glowed with sorrow and fire. You cannot win this, she whispered. Her hands trembled as she raised them. The metal around her shivered, rising like broken spears. She hurled them toward the commander. He swung his blade, cutting them down one by one, but for a moment, the human had space. He lunged, his rod smashing into the commander's helmet. The beast-shaped mask cracked, sparks bursting from within. The commander's face showed for the first time, scars, burning eyes twisted with hate. He roared in rage, driving the human back with brutal force. The rod snapped in half. The human fell to one knee. The girl cried out, running toward him. "Mama, he will die," she screamed. The mother caught her arm, pulling her close. Tears filled her glowing eyes. "Not yet, little one, not yet," she whispered, but her body trembled, her strength fading. The commander raised his blade high. "This ends now, human," he snarled. The human looked up, his breath heavy, but his eyes still burned with defiance. He spat blood and growled, "Then end it if you can." Before the blade fell, the girl screamed. Her eyes blazed like suns, brighter than ever before. A shockwave of light burst from her small body. It struck the commander with violent force. He stumbled back, his armor glowing red. He roared in fury, but his blade dimmed. The girl collapsed into her mother's arms, gasping for breath. Her power drained her, but she had saved him. The human rose, broken rod still in his grip. He charged forward with a roar. He slammed the jagged end of the rod into the cracked helmet. The commander reeled, staggering back. The human struck again and again, until the beast mask shattered completely. The commander fell to the ground, defeated, the fire of hate still in his eyes, but his body broken. Silence filled the ruins. The storm outside began to fade. The mother knelt, holding her child close. The human stood above the fallen commander, his chest heaving. The commander's voice rasped weakly. "You think this changes anything, human? The Empire will never stop. They will come for you. They will come for her." The human's voice was low but fierce. "Let them come," he said. "They will learn what it means when a human claims something as his own." The mother's eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow, but of something new, hope. She rose slowly, still holding her daughter. She stepped toward the human. "You are not bound to us," she whispered again. "You could still walk away." The human shook his head, his voice like iron. "I already chose," he said. "They are mine to protect. No empire, no power in the stars will take them from me." The girl looked at him, her glowing eyes wide. For the first time, she smiled without fear. "Mama," she whispered, "he is not just saving us. He is family now." The mother closed her eyes, her hand trembling as she touched the human's arm. "Then we are bound together, human, by blood, by fire, by choice." The storm broke above. The sky cleared, stars shone through the smoke. The human looked at them, endless and bright. He knew the Empire would come. He knew more battles waited, but tonight they had won, and tonight a vow had been made. The child, the widow, and the human stood together in the ruins, the firelight glowing on their faces. Enemies still hunted them. The galaxy still wanted their blood, but they were no longer alone. One man had claimed them, and in that claim, he had defied an empire.